so.
No, I'm just curious. Because of other ones I've been on, they haven't, but I don't know if it's like a law.
You mean
Or-
like town boards and committees?
Well, just, yeah, I mean, like, yes, how does that work? If you
Yeah,
have like,
so unless the committee is dissolved, they actually, there's a sort of a local town bylaw that says
curious.
it's like, it has to be
Other ones I've
within,
been on, they
yeah.
haven't, but I don't know if it's like a law.
You mean like town boards and
Oh,
committees?
there's some.
Sorry, I'm it's an echo from the YouTube.
That was weird.
Sorry, when I go live on YouTube, if the volume's on, you hear the echo because we're delayed by like a minute. So that's, you guys just were hearing our conversation over, sorry. But yeah, there's like, you have to do it within 45 days. You have to pass the minutes is the idea, so.
Hello, Janet Maney.
Hello,
Hi,
Janet.
Janet.
Trying to get
So,
screen
Um,
large. There we go.
are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Library Board of Trustees on July 14th, 2023, 11:04 a.m. I'd like to call it to order. I take attendance here, right? Okay, Janet Maney
Here.
is here, David Eckberg,
Here.
Kim Reagan,
Here.
Amy Asdani,
Here.
Jane Davis here. Okay, thank you. So the first item on the agenda is public comment, and I don't know what that is about. Do you, Ryan?
Yeah, that's just if any member of the public has anything they want to bring up or they want to say, this is a space for them to do it. But we have no members of the. Sorry, we have no members of the public in attendance right now.
Okay, all right, so the minutes from June 9th, I had only a couple tiny little edits, the section that says specific fund balances, I took out in particular. It says there's a little spacing. She said fund supplement, the second line. Fund Mary Fay Fund supplemental account on books or ebooks to purchase summer reading titles. I just took out the comma in particular, seemed extraneous, extra. And the other edit I had was library director evaluation, which is on the next page. There was a period missing. Sorry to be picky. Feedback on his evaluation, period. Do you see what I mean?
I didn't even catch those, so.
The first sentence, trustees reviewed Ryan's feedback on his evaluation. I just put a period there. Is that okay? Anybody else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, would someone like to move to accept the minutes of June 9th, 2023?
I'll move to accept the minutes as amended.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you, Janet. David Eckberg, do you approve the minutes?
Yes.
Janet Meany, you
Yes.
seconded. Kim Reagan,
Yes.
Amy Asdani, and
Yes.
Jane Davis. Yes, I approve the minutes as amended for June 9th, 2023.
I have a quick comment, and that is, I'm thinking we should send Ryan to Washington if he can manage a budget down to balancing it within 1 cent.
1 cent, that was
44 cents.
impressive.
There's a bigger role for him to play in the federal budget. So hats off, Ryan.
Well, I did make the town accountant very happy, I think. So
Yes.
I'll say that I think Carla didn't see anybody else who was turning back 4 cents in their other line items. You do see that my estimate in previous meetings did not take into account the split payroll. There were like a couple days that we actually paid for at the end of June. It was a Wednesday and a Thursday. So I kept saying there's going to be about $17,000 left, but there actually was less because of that split payroll. As some of it came out of the last fiscal year, some of it moved into this one. So That, I'm sorry, that was a little bit off. That's always why I like to get closer to the end before I start saying what I think is going to be turned back. But I was very happy. I don't know that we'll ever get down to 4 cents again. And just also for the record, we did not have to go into the Mary Fay Fund. The only thing we really ran out of money for was an ebook that was on the Trottier summer reading list, and we just waited till July 1st to do that purchase. I think
Okay.
it really didn't affect anything. So
That
that
sounds
was
good.
Well done.
Yes, good timing, good thinking
Ditto.
ahead.
Nice work.
Yep.
the staff also, the staff do a lot of end of the year spending, and I have to in particular thank Kim Ivers and Leah Selleck. But really it was like a team effort. I think everybody, you see how well the library is working together when you see a 4 cent turn back. So
Mhm.
happy about that.
Yes,
Well,
congratulations to everybody who worked so
congratulations,
hard
yeah.
on that. Thank you.
Good job. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the director's report. Facilities, we read what you said about the repairs to the parking lot. Is there anything new on that?
No, just that it's still preliminary. I know that I still have not yet met the new DPW superintendent, so I am aware that we wanted to have maybe a longer conversation, or even at some point, maybe even invite him to come say hi and just talk about paving the parking lot long term and seeing if that could be done. So that I did broach that with Chris, but that is, he can really work with the highway department on patchwork. It gets bumped up to the superintendent when we want to do a whole repaving of the parking lot. He did mention that the parking lot would be unavailable for a significant amount of time if we do it. Like, I think the pavement has to settle for at least a week, if not
Oh.
longer. So that would mean the parking would be unavailable here. So I think that was worth kind of noting.
So it
Yeah.
should have been a pandemic
Yeah.
work, right?
Can they do it in
Well,
can they do it in two different things? So we'd have half a parking lot at a time?
Yeah, so that I think is why it's going to be a longer conversation, Janet. We might try to explore whether or not we could do half and half. I don't know what the recommendation is going to be. I don't know that DPW does it. My understanding is that they contract
Check
a
it out,
company
yeah.
to do it. So we
Yeah.
would have to talk to them about it. And then again, I think availability of funds is another factor. So DPW would have to have funding to do it. This is a nice segue to something I found out this morning that's not in the report. So if you all, this is related to facilities. If you recall, we as a group really did try to advocate that the library get a new carpet upstairs. And part of the reason why we did that was so that the carpet can be cleaned. Well, now it's kind of time to pay the piper, because it's the annual time we would need to look at cleaning the carpet. And John has told me that they do not work on weekends, but he can schedule it for a Friday, and then we can set it up so that the carpet could dry over the weekend. But the reason why he came to me and talked to me this morning is because the library would have to close while the carpets are being cleaned. So most likely this disrupts operations before we reopen in the September. So what I'd like to do is try to coordinate with facilities a date towards the end of August to try to do this. So it may be prior to the next trustees meeting. I might meet with you while the carpet people are cleaning, because we usually meet on a Friday. So I can kind of keep you guys advised. He needs to see about the availability of doing this. I guess I never really realized that we would have to close, but after talking to him, that makes sense, because there's no way that we're going to be able to like deep clean the carpet and have people walk around in the building at the same time, right?
Okay,
So
same question. Can they do one floor at a time?
I asked that question and he said no.
Oh, okay.
I also asked Janet if they could come in on a Saturday, and he said he asked that, and they do not work. The company that we contract with only works Monday through Friday.
That's
So.
kind of shocking if they work with like companies, because I would assume most companies want it done when their staff is not in the building, but Yeah, I think splitting it would be bad anyway. That would be so confusing and frustrating. And I think, yeah, if they can do it before the end of the summer, that would be ideal. But again, it's
Yeah,
probably
what
way
will
out of your
happen
hands.
is it would be like, because I also don't know the what equipment they're gonna need in here and what the makeup is gonna be. I can tell you, trying to close one floor, we know this from the flood. Trying to keep one floor closed and one floor open was difficult because members of the public, despite signs, despite caution tape, will wander into an area that is clearly closed. One time we just saw somebody like taking a phone call in the children's room. Well, it was still gutted, like it was, it smelled, down there. And I was like, how could you even concentrate, So, he would advise if we split, like if we did try to do like one and the other, we'd still have to close for the day. So it would mean that we would close 2 days instead of one. So I think trying to get it all one and done is the objective.
Yeah, well, it sounds like that's the best alternative, to do it in the summer when it's already closed Saturday. So do it on a Friday. I don't know if you have any sense of when it's quietest. Is it in August or?
Well, I mean, I know we're gonna try August. One of the things I was gonna ask you guys too in August was, we tend to have a lot of vacation requests, like end of the summer vacation requests that occur on Labor Day. So that weekend. So, we're supposed to reopen Saturdays in September, but what I prefer is if we could open September 9th, which is actually the second Saturday. It's following Labor Day. So, if we can't coordinate August, maybe Labor Day weekend would be the best time. We traditionally have not gotten a lot of people coming in on that weekend anyway. And we were open the Memorial Day in May. That's that Saturday. And we really didn't get a lot of people, is what I can tell you. A lot of
We
people.
did this last year, remember? We
Yeah.
stayed.
Oddly, though, I will say, just for holiday tracking, a lot of people were surprised we're open July 3rd, and we
Yeah.
did get a lot of people that day. So I had a feeling we might, because that was the first weekend we were closed Saturdays, and I am glad we were open, but I was exhausted after the 3rd. A lot of staff were out, and it was just busy, busy, busy all day. So
Huh.
it depends.
I can see, I think we should just make that Labor Day Saturday. Like people often do Memorial Day too, or whatever, but it just makes sense for your vacation requests and stuff. I don't know how that works with the town and their union things, but to me, that one extra Saturday probably won't kill anybody, and it will make the life easier for you guys, but better. So.
If you can schedule them, then how far in advance they need to, I mean, if they're available?
I already know that half of the full-time people are going to be gone.
Well, then maybe you should just make that decision and, I mean, contact the rug cleaning company and make
Yeah.
sure.
Does that suggest that Friday, the 1st of September would be a good time to do the rugs?
We're gonna try to do August, David. We're gonna see if I'm sorry to pull up a calendar on you guys. We're gonna try to see if the 18th or the 25th is available, but it's either the 18th, the 25th, or the 1st of September.
All
So
right.
I would just say we're throwing in the 1st as a option, because
Okay.
I wasn't planning, as long as I get the board's blessing, I was not planning on reopening Saturdays until September 9th. So that gives you more of an idea. I don't know if it's easier for them to do it like on the 25th. I would say the 25th is probably our target going into this, but I'll be able to advise you at the August meeting on this. Like I said, this wasn't in any of the reporting. You guys didn't get an email about this because literally I found out about it 35 minutes before the meeting started. So I'm sorry. I think it's good to give you guys notice of this now, because otherwise we're talking about it taking place either that day or the following week. And we want to start notifying the public if we're going to be closed on a Friday. So I try to
Ryan.
get that information 30 days in advance. Sorry, Kim.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just wondering how long it takes to clean it, and is it necessary to close for the entire day, or is it possible
Yeah, I
to
was
be open
wondering
in the
that.
morning?
Yeah, he said that they really need to get in there probably early in the morning, and then it needs to like air out for at least 2 days. So he said reopening on Monday should be feasible.
Okay.
But they need the full day on Friday is what you're saying.
Yes, because they're doing both floors too, I think is the. He
No,
said
just
there's a
right.
lot of carpet now, because remember, we used to have hardscape. Like it used to be that vinyl plastic downstairs. So because I think the only place we even still have like a hard surface floor is in the Eaton room and then in the donation room. So everything else needs to be cleaned in the building. It's almost all of the floor surface. So it's a job. We're
Yeah, and
tiny.
if it has,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
if it has to be aired out, I assume you'd want to do it during the day while the workers are there, so the library's not unsecured overnight trying to air it out.
Yeah, and I don't know, I think he has to modify the HVAC system slightly, and then the windows upstairs will be open during that period so that you can't access them
Okay.
from the public, and then facilities will also, they're gonna be on site and monitor, so.
Okay.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're on top of that, so. It's fine if you just email us when you make a decision. I don't think we need a vote. I think we're all on board with whatever you decide.
Yeah, and
Okay.
unfortunately, John also said that this might be an annual thing where we have to plan on a Friday closing. So again, we'll try to target that over the summer. But I will say, I'm very excited that we have the option to clean the carpets, because the first time in almost 10 years that was something we're scheduling some, there's
Yippee!
pros and cons, right? Like we don't want to close, but we also do want a clean building. So I think that's the trade-off.
Well, if we
Yeah.
figure this out, we could ask for like a standing appointment on the Friday before Labor Day or something, get
Yeah.
it all cleaned because we have high summer traffic and then probably high fall traffic.
Right.
So that makes sense. Also, when you were talking about the parking lot, I was thinking that if that's planned out far enough ahead, you can find your slowest period probably. I would assume any time between school starting and Christmas is the busiest. But when your parking lot isn't full to the hilt with programming and stuff is what I was thinking. But
yeah, Kim is on vacation during that period. So I think the idea would be because we kind of end summer reading in mid-August. So looking at those two last Fridays is the best.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people go on vacation and, last bit of summer. Okay. Can we move to the expense report, please?
Yeah, just really briefly, I wanted to say, because we had gotten the information from the accessibility committee, I did include that in my comments to Chris. So that information has been passed along. They also did install a new berm because Jane noted last week that they paved the road. Last month in the meeting that they had repaved the road. The berm has been set kind of a little bit higher. We did have some patron feedback, just that was difficult to navigate. I've done it myself, and I think it's fine if you're going really slow. So I would assume, that's the whole reason the berm is there. I think the problem is people are going too fast. So that was feedback we've also given DPW. Everything else that's on the director's report is pretty self-explanatory. I would say the big thing that Kim and I wanted to communicate to you guys is we'd like to start posting. We just had another resignation from Alicia Winsky, who's one of the full-time teachers. She only works twice a month, but she typically works more over the summer. So she's kind of given notice. We knew this was coming, but we would like to start looking at hiring new part-time associates. I think we'd like to potentially post the job notice next week. So.
Okay. That seems to be what you need to do. Okay. Anything else on the director's report?
You'll see more stuff in August on a survey and some open forums. We're going to try to plan an open forum on I think a Wednesday night in August, and then potentially maybe a Wednesday night in September. And I do have a line on some potential moderators who could help. So I think we're in better shape there. If there's any feedback you guys have on questions, or you wanted to if you want to come to the forums, I think that's okay to participate in them. I probably won't be there, at least for initial two. I might host another one if we're feeling like we need additional feedback after that. But I'm trying to take more of a step back so that people can feel comfortable giving their feedback, which I know we talked a lot about last month.
Yeah, the article or the class I took on that said like if any of the major players, trustees, director, et cetera, are there, people don't talk as freely as they would without us. So
well, as long as like they're in a position of like running it or moderating the program. So I would just say, if you do attend, which I think is okay, your residents, your stakeholders in the library, many of you, if not all of you, are library users as well. I would just say, try to refrain from saying, well, the library already does that. These are things that I say in those meetings, like the library already does that, or this is the background and the history of the library, right? It's just go into it, I think, with the idea that you want people to be able to express themselves and maybe don't necessarily identify as library trustee, like maybe like attend under the radar. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So that'd be my suggestion.
you mean you don't want us to wear our trustee t-shirts?
The little, like the pointed cap.
crown?
That says
Yeah,
trustee.
exactly.
Yeah, so.
The cone. Okay, no, that's good. Let's see what comes out of that. But will somebody be taking notes, or is it recorded?
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we've kind of gone back and forth on whether or not to record it. We think people won't give full feedback if it is sort of a recorded program. So we're really looking for two people. It would be a moderator and then somebody who can take notes. We're also looking at potential activities where people would generate ideas, like on either sticky notes, or there would be like a board, like with a pad of paper, a big pad where somebody could kind of record it. That's what we've done with MLS reps in the past. So if we do have an MLS moderator, which I'm hoping we can do for at least one of the forums, they usually do a write-up following the forum. So that would be really good. I think some of the newer Friends members might also volunteer, and they don't have sort of the background and the history behind the library. Like, they're bringing a lot of enthusiasm and energy. So I think if they get involved, they could also take notes. They've offered. So.
Okay, that's good. And they would stay under the radar too.
Yeah, we would just say, I think it's like people's names. We're not looking for like positions or stuff like that. We're all humans. I think it's going to be the goal of the forum, but I'm not there. I can't control it. So I'm coming to peace with that. So.
All right, you can deal with that. All right, good. Anything else miscellaneous? Evaluations. Are you all set with that?
Yeah, I try to put things in the director's report now that are going to take up a lot of my time. So really this past month was really the last 6 weeks was all the employee evaluations. We're the department that does like a big chunk of them for the town. There's like, I think 60 total, and we submitted 14 if you include me. And then really, I can tell you that coordinating with IT, this PC replacement, and then on top of that, we have a cloud migration for the Envisionware server. This is going to be most of July, if not, well, August really, because we're about to jump into August. So that computer upgrade thing, they're going to need me a lot for that. So.
Okay. Great. Okay, we're going to move on now to the expense report, which we kind of covered already, didn't we?
Yeah, I did. Amy did sign up on the first payable of the year. We did submit already $18,500. A lot of that was in initial database bills. So you'll get a full report on that in August. Because I submitted the bill batch this morning. That was how I ran into John about the carpet. The CW Mars consortium bill is just over $20K. One of the big bills I would also say we paid was our annual subscription costs. So the newspapers and the magazines, we do that as an upfront cost at the beginning of the fiscal year. But I would say like more than half the databases have been paid for at this point, the subscription costs, and then some initial book bills, which were pretty big because there was a week or two where people were being more conservative at the end of the fiscal year, right? I told them they could keep spending, but a lot of people wanted to wait till July. So I think we're in good shape. You know, that's a lot. I didn't have to chase down a lot of bills this year. A lot of them were set to do it in beginning of July. So that was good news. So I think expense wise, we're in good shape for the new year.
Ryan, is the date on this report correct?
Yeah, the expense report. So really you're getting, because there was nothing to send you Wednesday for this year, because I didn't do the bill batch until yesterday. You really got the expense report at the end of last fiscal year. Does that make sense? So you really got the final June report.
All right, so this is, okay, that answers my question. So this
So
is really.
it's from fiscal 23, which just ended on
Yeah.
June 30th. You'll get the initial FY 24 expense report in August.
Got it, thank you.
I try to give you 2 in July if I'm ready, and I just wasn't ready. So you only got 1. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
I'm good. I'm not that good. You know.
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. Any, can we move on to the library facade restoration project and PR?
Yes, so I did follow up with the town's attorney, and Janet has been included in some of those conversations. We also, did just loop in John Parent and our OPM and our architects. At this point, the town council's office is recommending that we look at hiring a historical consultant to complete the PR. So Janet and I have a couple follow-up questions we'd like to get addressed with town council. So we will try to set up a meeting, or if that's doesn't materialize soon, there are open hours every month that we can go visit. So maybe we'll go take a visit there. But we're at that point, that's just the status of where the PR is. We're going to follow up. So we did get a revised response from the attorney's office this week. I don't know if you want to add anything, Janet. I know Janet kind of looped in.
Said it much more
diplomatically
diplomatically than I would have. I
Yeah.
think we should just leave it there.
Okay. That's it for that, Jane.
Okay, sorry.
You're freezing, Jane, somehow.
It's probably just an internet connection thing.
Okay.
It's the rain messes the connections up. So I'm guessing that's what's happening.
Yo, Jane, are you there?
I keep losing internet. I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Jane. You're here.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's keep going. I don't know. I just got a message. My internet is unstable. So I don't know if it has to do with the weather. I hear thunder.
Seeking therapy.
What?
I said it's seeking therapy.
Oh, great. Not good time for that. Okay, then I didn't hear the last thing you said, Janet and Ryan. but-
I said that he had responded much more diplomatically than I would have. So I think we should just leave it with what Ryan said.
Okay. Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, great. So the next thing on the agenda is the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program.
So really kind of the director's report, I would say, did kind of give you guys the update on that. The next step is really doing a public forum. We're looking to schedule that kind of on the earlier side in August. So there will be a date soon and a flyer that kind of advertises that. Again, we're just trying to make sure that this fits with the schedule of any potential moderators. We're also hoping to have a draft of the Well, not even a draft. I'd really like the survey to go up in early August too. We'd like to have the survey run probably for a 3-month period. So it will be in August, September, and October. That's kind of what, and if we need more feedback, it might be longer, but I'm really looking at it as a 3-month undertaking where people could provide feedback. So we've noticed from past survey data that if we keep it to 10 questions, we do a combination of multiple choice and short answer, that tends to go over a little bit better. So that's kind of the general methodology. It will look very similar to previous surveys, but will have more of a slant on providing feedback on the building. If anybody in this group, and I've also reached out to Marguerite, if there are specific things that you would like me to consider as we're drafting the questions, or if you even have specific language for questions, I'm very open to integrating that into the survey. So please send me those. I'd like to get this, like I said, live by August 1st. So if you could give me drafts maybe by like sort of any feedback you want to provide, I would try to do it maybe by end of next week, maybe by Monday, the 24th at the latest. That will allow me to design the survey and then start the marketing.
Okay,
Does that give everybody enough time, really? Like a,
that's just
Could you-
Monday.
could you give us what you're thinking of and we could critique that versus, I would find that easier. Or do you not want our explicit feedback?
well, I'm kind of asking for the feedback. I guess I don't. If you guys want to discuss it, like as an agenda item, we just would make the survey go live in September. Because I need you guys to, if you want to review it ahead of time, that's fine. We just need to do it as an agenda item in the next meeting. Does that make sense? So it's just the timing, I guess, of how you want to do it. That might be a synergy because people are going back to school. September is usually a transition month. It's the beginning of the fall. I don't have a problem with that. It's just, I guess it's the timing.
Okay, I don't need to review it. I can't think of any questions myself. So I was thinking if you had some that might spark thoughts, but
We're definitely
probably
looking.
fine doing it yourself.
I can tell you that I'm really using the MBLC website in the construction area for inspiration. I'm
Mhm.
also looking at MLS has a collection on their website of strategic plans, which include survey questions. So when I tell you I'm not really reinventing the wheel, I'm looking at a lot of examples and then I'm trying to just sort of customize them more towards our specific situation. Janet, I know we're on the community center exploration group. So one thing I might ask you is just sort of bounce any ideas that are more specific to that off of you.
Okay.
Because of your experience there. And I may ask you guys for individual feedback, but if you want to do this as a group, I would say we could just add this to next month's agenda. Tim, did you?
Again, I
know
don't
Kim
know that we
unmuted.
need a lot of discussion on it. It seems if you're using the MBLC website and I don't know, what do the rest of you think?
Yeah, I'm fine with
think
you
it's-
just going ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am
Kim?
too. I'm happy to review it and just send any feedback. That would work for me.
Okay.
David, did you want to say something?
No, I prefer to be an editor and a reactor because I echo what Janet said. I don't know where to start with respect to questions.
Okay.
It'll be like, let me give you an example, because maybe this will give people a better sense, right? So like, in your opinion, does the Southborough Library building meet your current user needs? Extremely satisfied, no opinion, not satisfied, dissatisfied, stuff like that. That's really what we're looking for. So that'll gauge initial interest in do people really love the building? So I'm giving you kind of a very off the cuff response. I'm really looking at language that people tried to tailor. How do you feel about the library being in a different site in town? I would be in favor of that option if it met the library needs. I would be very against that option, stuff like that. It's if you look at some of the survey questions that we had in previous strategic planning iterations, and when we had the COVID survey that we put out, the questions are going to be kind of very similar, I would say. But again, there's a building slant on this because of the construction program. Does that make sense? We're really asking more people about the physical building, and then there may be room, I would say, in one or two of the questions at the end that are more service oriented, like something about programming. We usually ask about that every strategic plan. So, because this is for construction data and it's for strategic planning. So we're really looking at both. But I think a plan for the building is really kind of front and center in strat plan this year. So.
Yeah, okay. So do you want to send them to us so we can just look at them ahead of time, or is that possible?
Yeah, I just don't want to, I don't want to break any open meeting law, anything. So what I'll do is I will send questions to you. I'll send the questions out, and then just if there's any feedback for on the questions, just send it to me. Just to me, don't include all of the group. And again, I will try to integrate any feedback. If you guys are okay, we can put this on the agenda for August if you want to review the feedback before the survey goes live. But I mean, the general sense I was getting from all of you was that you kind of trust me to do it. So I'll send kind of the draft questions out. You guys can send me feedback individually, and then sort of I would say a federated version of that can go up in early August, if that's an acceptable plan.
Yeah, I think sending it out ahead of time saves meeting time. We all can look at it and send you our comments or criticisms, whatever they are, and you can, correlate all that. Because I don't think a group discussion on these questions would be a good use of our time.
Yeah, we've talked about surveys in previous meetings, and Jane has been part of that in different iterations of the board. Sometimes talking about a survey can take 45 minutes.
Yeah.
We really get into the weeds, I think, sometimes. And I'll also say Jane may love question number 1 and Janet may hate it. So I think there kind of has to be somebody who is trying to integrate as much of the feedback, but then has to be well, we're going to ask this version of the question at the end of the day. So just to manage all of your expectations, just know that I hear everything you guys are sending me, and I'm going to do my best to make it look the way that would make the most people happy. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
That sounds great. Yeah, it puts most of the work on you, Ryan, but I think that's the way to go. Yeah. Okay, how about the Community Center Exploration Committee update?
Nothing's happened since our last meeting, right? They're out, we've delegated it to the consultants, the same ones who figured out how Woodward could be divvied up. They're looking at Finn now to do that, and we don't expect to hear anything back till September, I think.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this is a standing agenda item, but like Janet said, the group has not met. So we actually don't really have anything new to report. It's just really what we reported last month. So I don't think anything's going to happen until the fall. So this will probably be in the agenda for August, but it might be the same thing. We might just not have a meeting and not be able to report anything because it is more project based. And at this point, there's literally a review of one of the facilities that's going on. So when Janet and I go to the next meeting and there's a report, we'll be able to present that.
Okay. Good. Job description.
So this was, I wasn't, just because of all the work on the FY23 evaluations, right? Or FY24 evaluations, right? Didn't I get into trouble with last time?
Yeah.
job descriptions was one of my goals for next year. How I'd like to do this as a process is really tackle them one at a time, if that's okay. So I'm starting with the oldest job descriptions first, if that makes sense. So we do have a job description for senior library assistant, but that job has now been renamed to library supervisor. So the first thing that needs to change in the description is the title. That's one of the only ones that I think might be the only one that needs to be completely retitled. So I'd like to start there next month and get an initial draft for us to start talking about and then reviewing and eventually approve on our end to you guys. I also do not know at this point, because the personnel board has not had time to like kind of detail their process for that, how they'd like to do it this year. But I think what I'd like to do is at least get us in a better state of where we would like the description before personnel board kind of gives us feedback on formatting or things that they would like included, right? So I think we can do some of the initial work on this, like the fact that we need to retitle it, right? So that's where I'd like to start, if that's acceptable for everybody. The one that is the next oldest one is the library director description. So that just gives you an idea. And then really we're going into descriptions, I think, that we've modified and updated in the past, but the children's the assistant director description talks about how that position does teen services. And then that was before we made the youth services position, which focuses on teen. So we just have to judge some stuff, I would say, in those descriptions. The biggest work I really foresee in the next year is on the senior library assistant / library supervisor description, and then the library director description. So those are the first two, but I'd like to do them one at a time, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Is doing one a month a reasonable target for you, Ryan?
Sure. It's good. We're going to have a draft in each meeting and then be able to kind of discuss it, because you guys have to discuss them. That's just the process for how this is. And then I think we'll try to figure out a way for you to send me editorial feedback and for us to get them in a better state. But they're going to have to be done over several meetings, and we're going to just have to set aside time for them.
How many descriptions are there?
We have 7 individual jobs at the library.
Okay, and didn't we just do 2 in the last year?
Yes, so that's kind of, Janet is kind of hitting it a little bit. The oldest ones are going to be the hardest to update. A lot of them have been updated over the past couple of years. So we're in better shape, in my opinion, on those. There may still be stuff you guys want to revise and update in them. And I think I'll probably have more advice than anyone, because I'm the one who's kind of, directing workflow, right? So I know what the employees are doing, and I can kind of give you that feedback. I also would like, if the board is amenable to this, to have the staff who are in these positions have an opportunity to provide me feedback on the descriptions, because I think that will be valuable as well. I think if there's something in the description that they're really confused about, that we should address that as part of this process. I'm not saying that they get to control what their job is, right? But I would like to open the door for their feedback.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So in most organizations, when you particularly when you redo a job, there's something a supervisor fills out and something the employee fills out. Does the personnel board provide you with those kind of forms? It's just to get as complete a picture of what they do, also kind of what the level of responsibility for the tasks is, kind of, you get a better feel if you hear from both.
So as part of the annual evaluative process, right? Actually, the answer to that, Janet, is no. I can just sort of generally answer that question. What we did have a self-evaluation tool that was something the personnel board had asked for a few years, but I don't even think a self-evaluation is required as part of the revised review. I ask every employee who is evaluated to fill out a self-evaluation, because I need that feedback when I'm preparing them. I'm also the department head that has to do the most of these. So I do, I kind of need that feedback in order to not make all 13 evaluations sound very similar, right? And like, there are things, I always use this example. When Mariana became full-time, one of a big project for her in the fall was to pitch and then coordinate this puzzle collection that the library has, which has been a big hit, I have to say too, and has cost the library $0 because it's all donation based, right? So it was a good idea. It was something she saw other libraries doing, and we integrated that. When I did the first draft of her evaluation, I had completely forgotten that it was Mariana that had even pitched that idea, and then who had done all the initial work because she had done so much that year, right? She put that in her self-evaluation, and that was able to remind me of that work. So that's an example, I think, right there of why that feedback is valuable. In regards to the job descriptions, Janet, really there has been no process at present for how we do it at all, including formatting. So that is, I think, what the personnel board it wants to achieve this year, is to come up with a process for how to do this, and then to have a standardized format. So when you go to any job description for an employee of Southborough, the town, that they'll kind of be in a similar format.
Right. Well, I would just suggest when we're doing this, that you have the employee review the current job description, make changes that they think, or the employees in that job.
And we did that with Kim in previous years. And I would just say, you would think the whole thing would be one big red mark, right? And Kim was very thoughtful about what she suggested adding and what wasn't really relevant anymore. It wasn't as much red lettering as you'd think. And it's the same with me. When I review my job description every time before I write my self-eval, and there's some stuff I think that should be kind of updated and revised, but overall the job description is it's in good shape.
Okay.
So that's kind of, I think all of them kind of are. I think they just need to be updated is really tweaked. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we'll start with senior library assistant / library supervisor, and you guys will have a draft next month.
We lost Jane.
Okay, I don't know.
She's gonna have to sign back on or something.
Yeah, we can hang out. The last the next agenda item was public comment, and I can tell you there's no members of the public that are here. So that doesn't need to be, I guess, addressed. And then we have any other business that comes up before the board.
Which I have some.
Okay. Do you want to wait until Jane tries to come back on, or
That's
do you
a good
want
idea.
to? Okay.
I'd rather wait, if that's okay. Well, give her a couple minutes anyway.
Yeah. I'm sure she just lost internet, and
Yeah.
that's really what happened. Does anybody else have any other business they'd like to bring up other than Janet before the close of the meeting? We could talk about next meeting date if that was helpful.
Let's do that.
Right here. So August 18th would be the third Friday of the month, if you guys want to do that.
That's good for me.
I can't make it that day.
Okay.
I can. I could also do, I think that, wait a minute, 25th, but that's the day you're doing your steam cleaning, hopefully, right?
Well, also the 18th might be one too. So how does the 11th look for everybody?
I can't do the 11th,
Okay.
but again, that's just one person, so.
Well, it's that time of year when we're maybe not going to get everybody. All three of those days right now anyway work for me.
Okay.
18 and
I
21.
might be able to make the 18th. I just have an appointment and I'm not exactly sure what time I'll be back, but if we're gonna have one person with a conflict anyways, we might try for the 18th and then I'll just try and make my way back and join you when I can.
There's also nothing to preclude us, Kim, from doing the meeting a little bit later on Friday afternoon. So that might be an option, like if people could do 1 o'clock instead of 11. If that worked better for people, we could
Yeah.
check.
Good for me.
Or noon instead of 11, you
Yeah.
know. I always ruin everybody's Friday lunchtime anyway with these, right? So.
Yeah, I could do that as long as it's a one-off and not a regular, because I can't do it regularly, but I could in the summer. So if that works for Kim.
Would noon be better, Kim, potentially? Would that-
Yeah, I should definitely be back by then.
Okay. So maybe let's kind of, because we also don't know Jane and Marguerite's availability, but why
Yeah.
don't we tentatively look at the 18th at 12 p.m.
Sounds good.
and I can follow up with them.
So what happened with Marguerite today? Do we know? I mean,
Yes, it was not a professional, it was a personal
Oh, okay.
appointment. So that just
So she's not blowing us off.
No, and she was concerned again, also because she was not able to attend the last meeting because of a professional responsibility. She asked if we should reschedule the meeting, but really this was a check-in. A lot of it was just kind of like regular updates for you guys. So I told her that I thought we should meet and then we could fill her in August on anything substantive. I still think it's good. Like I said, it's always good to meet with you guys and to talk about what's happening. And then there wasn't a big thing until we got to this carpet discussion, which did take up time because we have to close, but I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So I will say, just because any other business has come up, if I may, John has checked all of the sump pumps. And we are looking because we've gotten a lot of rain in the past couple of days. And I know a lot of us have been following the information on the flooding in Vermont, right?
Yes, that's fine. I'll tell them.
Sorry, Janet, I just muted you for a minute. Because you were on the phone with her. Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Jane just called. She says her internet's down and we should just go ahead and finish the meeting without her.
Okay.
Okay.
But we have had no water in the building as a result of this.
terrific.
So that's let's end the
Yay.
meeting on a positive note right there. Right?
Okay.
Excellent.
We're not
That's
ending.
good.
I have my thing.
Oh, yes. Okay. So
Okay.
Janet, why don't you, the floor is yours, I think.
Oh.
So.
So sorry, I would have put an agenda item if I had I was trying to get together with Freddie Gillespie about the garden. And I didn't know if we were going to fit it in this week, so I didn't put it as an actual agenda item, but we were able to meet yesterday afternoon. And so a couple different things. One is that the garden is working, that Dr. Gagir, who runs this whole center of everything, of trying to get gardens that work, as Mike new term for it. He said the biodiversity of butterflies in our garden is fabulous, so it's working. It's luring in things that we wouldn't have seen otherwise, which is cool. What Freddie needs to do is have more helpers to weed the garden and stuff. She has a big group that has been helping at the Beals Preserve, and another group that is in the original garden on the Urio cow field, which I can never remember what you call now. But she would love it if we could end up with a group that could maintain the garden based, that was separate from the other folks, because people are burning out trying to manage all these different things. So what she wanted us to do, which makes sense, is appeal directly to our patrons and say, can you help with this? We thought we could actually form a club where people could adopt a plant or adopt a corner or adopt a whatever. Because there's kind of two things that are going on. One is that the garden is there and it works and it's in good shape. The other thing is, though, that we haven't, but it needs to be maintained. We also haven't capitalized on the garden. We as a library, we haven't made use of it, haven't publicized that it's there, haven't tried to work it into other things that we're doing. So, I think it would, so what we're trying to do is a club that maybe would do both things. Teach people what this is and that they could do it themselves
think-
in their own
I would
yard.
say, haven't we posted and supported her on things and then they were canceled and not, that happens obviously,
Yeah,
but
and actually, the thing that we kept rescheduling in May, I think brought in 60 people.
that's great.
And the thing the end of June brought in another 20 or 30. But lots of times it's not even Southborough residents that come. It's people from other towns that are trying to get these things going in their towns. No, I think there has been support, but I think what we're trying to do is maybe a more formal group. And work the garden things into other stuff. I mean, Freddie's full of ideas, but
Hi, I just sent you a text. Can you start on the other side? I'm in a meeting. Sorry, guys.
okay. So anyway, so we're gonna try and do a first meeting sometime in August. I'm gonna draft up a flyer or something inviting people to it, and we'll see how we do. So that's all.
Apologize. I thought I was muted.
No, it's okay. Are we okay adding that as a agenda item next month, Janet, so that we
Sure.
can just update everybody?
Yep.
Okay, because I think it would be good to, capitalize on the momentum. So,
Yeah.
I think if Janet can get with Freddie and try to kind of maximize and codify some of those ideas
Yeah.
into an outcome, that would be good. And the library will support the garden. I do see people out there all the time. So I think
Yeah.
it is attracting people and they want, more information about it. It's not a bad thing. So
Yeah.
let's get the word
Well,
out.
also, if we want to make it bigger, we're talking about the, part 2 with that place where DPW keeps dumping all the leaves and all that stuff. If that gets cleaned up, then we need some more help to maintain things.
Yeah.
And to learn things. I mean, I go and look and I tell her, well, if I have some time, I can go weed, and I look and I've got that plant identifier and everything, and I'm afraid to pull anything up. We need to get the knowledge base more thoroughly out there, including to me.
When you use the word "we," who are you referring to? And the reason I ask that is going way back to when we had this discussion about whether to permit this or not. I thought there was unanimity among us that this was fine. It was a laudable undertaking, but it should have zero impact on library staff and energy and time.
Yeah.
Do I recall that correctly?
Yes.
And we're looking at volunteers, community volunteers.
So we as the town of Southborough, I think
Okay.
community engagement is really kind
Yeah,
of.
no, I'm not expecting the folks to use their lunch hour to go out and weed the garden. No, it's patrons, maybe friends of the library would want to get involved.
People who want to learn more about native species, things like that, right?
Yeah.
I totally hear what you said. My brother was trying to help me and weeded out my husband's plant seed grown from seeds. So
Yeah.
I hear you.
My husband has wiped out things for me for years.
Yeah. So I totally
Well,
hear.
there's other things like Freddie had this group from the school in Marlborough, the charter school, that came
So
very often, and those kids were dedicated and they loved it, and it got a lot of knowledge. I mean, we might have,
I was gonna say the high school or the middle school kids, they do have a garden club at Trottier as
Okay.
part of an elective. So that could be a possibility as well, if
Yep.
she wants to reach out to them, you just talk to the principal and then they'll connect her. But that's another option too.
Yep. I think first we'll just try and get a club going, and then maybe those folks can do some of this work, because Freddie can't do all of that for each of these gardens. She needs some help that's library specific, I think.
Does anybody want a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second,
Okay, only because I know there was a hard stop at 12 and it's 12:02. So I
Oh,
want to be
okay.
mindful of everybody's time. Sorry, and I think we were good, Janet, right? And we're going to talk about this more in August. So
Well, and I'm gonna get you a draft of, I'm gonna start working on a draft of an announcement kind of thing. Announcement, invitation, whatever.
and David, just to your point, I think the library can kind of assist without being the primary workers on the garden. I think we can try to help market and get the word out. That's I think.
Listen,
our
I'm
role.
all for that, but I don't want to see mission creep occur in such a
No.
way that responsibilities little by little, almost imperceptibly, all of a sudden,
I
either
agree.
directly or indirectly, end up in your lap. I think that's the understanding we went into this with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good concern to bring up, but
It's kind, I see it as the opposite of like how can the garden help the library?
Yeah.
You know, there's the ecological group now, there's teens that might be interested, there's, you know, what can the library get out of having it there?
So we've
all right,
motioned,
well,
need to vote to move, Ryan? Everybody needs to.
yeah, why don't, so roll call, I'm sorry, I'm kind of, I guess, like filling in a little bit, but why don't we do a roll call vote to adjourn? Mr. Ekberg,
Aye.
Miss Maney,
Aye.
Mrs. Regan,
Aye.
Mrs. Yazani.
Aye.
Okay, adjourned.
Have a great summer. See you in August.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
All right.